This is the most important thing that J.J. Watt said when asked about a Super Bowl parade for the Houston Texans.
There's nothing that would be crazier in this city than a Super Bowl parade. Um, Texas is a football state. Houston is a football town. We've got some incredible other teams here as well. Um, personally got to enjoy the Astros parades and everything that came with the Astros winning multiple World Series. Would love nothing more than to see the Texans version.
Houston football town. So J.J. Watt just declared Houston as a football town. If you listen to this show long enough, you know that we have a running bit on the show where we determine that Houston is the insert sport of the best team in town. So earlier this year, Houston went from being a football town, which they were when they were in the playoffs against the Chiefs after the Astros disappointed against the Tigers with their 2-game dust busting. It was a football town, but then they lost to the Chiefs, and then the Rockets were the 2 seed in the Western Conference and won the Southwest Division, and the Cougs made it all the way to the national championship game. So Houston then became a basketball town. Now, did Houston become a baseball town earlier this week when the Astros yesterday clinched the American League West? I think that's still up for debate. I don't know that Houston is a baseball town yet. It might be a baseball town in a couple of weeks, but you just heard it from J.J. Watt, the greatest football player in Houston Texans history. Houston is a football town. And we've heard this before from people in the Texans organization. They used to be very arrogant with this belief that Houston is a football town, even though the people running the show were from South Carolina and didn't really seem to have much to do with the city of Houston or want to have much to do with the city of Houston. Now they're pandering in a just kind of gross way, specifically towards the screwed up screw rap culture of the 1990s. There's other parts of Houston,
Throw your H's up.
Throw your H's up. Well, yeah, that's right. The H's up
The
tradition at the beginning of every game for the last 2 years with the H's up cannon, which is apparently a thing that no one's really explained to us. But Bill O'Brien once said, Houston is a football town. The Texans have always felt this way. And it's not. It's just not. Houston is not a football town. Houston is a whatever team is doing best town, which I have no issue with. But can we stop doing this all the time?
Yeah.
Trying to declare it's one town or another. No, if a team's doing well, everyone jumps on the bandwagon so hard, which I love. Everyone, when teams are good here, people jump on. But these days we're getting a little pickier. Perhaps that's due to the Astros. All in all, the Astros probably still run this city to a lesser degree than they did in the past. It's definitely open, especially with the Astros offense. I don't think anyone is buying into the idea, like Dana Brown is saying, that the Astros are a World Series contender. They're built to win the World Series. I don't know about that. But at this moment in time, if you're giving me truth serum, I'd probably say, yeah, it's a baseball town, but it could be another town very easily. It's just going to take one of these teams going a little bit further. All the Rockets had to do was get to the Western Conference Finals, and all the Cougs had to do was win the national championship, and it would be a basketball town. All the Texans have ever had to do is get to an AFC championship game, especially when the Astros stunk, and it would have been a football town at that moment in time. Since that hasn't happened, Houston is technically a baseball town, even though there is perhaps not as much support for these Astros as there were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm like willing to believe that it's a football town, but it sure as hell isn't a Texans town. That's where I think it is. Like, the Texans want to say it's a football town, and it's like, yeah, maybe you're right. Like, I could see a world where it's like, yeah, if you had every Houstonian like list their favorite sport, like football would be number one. But I think if you had them list their favorite football team, I don't know if the Texans, or their favorite team to root for, I don't know if the Texans would be number one. That's why it always rang hollow to me about them saying this is a football town. It's like, yeah, but not the Texans. Like, no one's like living and dying, or not no one, but it's not a majority like, oh, the city stops when the Texans are
Right.
on type of thing. No, not really.
There's a lot of factors that lend itself to that. Number one, the city lost the Oilers. I'm wearing a Houston Oilers shirt today. That definitely affected things. Sure, people love to play the sport football here. Sure, so many people have played at the high school level here. That does not necessarily mean that you love the NFL. I would say, as far as football goes, people here care more about college football, I think. The problem is there's just so many damn fan bases here. If we talk about one team, we got to talk about all the teams. So we got to talk about Texas. We got to talk about Texas A&M. We got to talk about LSU. Those are probably like the three biggest football program fan bases in the city.
Yeah.
Then after that, you've got a variety of different SEC teams. You will see Alabama people out and about all the time. You will see Florida people out and about all the time, amongst others, you know.
And then you have
Auburn, Arkansas.
Yeah, you have all the other local. You have U of H, Baylor.
UH less so, but yes, Baylor, TCU,
TCU,
Texas Tech. Like there are a ton of college football programs here. And I would say that Houston specifically is more of a college football town. You've also got the Dallas Cowboys in state. There's a pretty big population of people that live here in Houston that are Dallas Cowboys fans. Is that because of the Oilers moving? I don't know. I just know there's a lot. There's still Titans fans, for God's sakes. I think that partly has to do with the fact that the Texans passed on Vince Young. The Titans took him, even though Vince Young was his own worst enemy in Tennessee. There's definitely an argument to be made that the Titans, who were running the team, not the ownership, the Jeff Fisher, et cetera, they didn't want him. So that's one of the reasons why there is a lot of Titans fans here in town. I still will not understand it, but that at least is a semi reasonable excuse to stay rooting for the Titans. But this is definitely not a city that's ever, outside of maybe 2011 and 2012, been a Texans town. People got excited when they were good for the first time ever, and it led to nothing. And people got bored again, which they do.
Yeah, and a big problem is like when there is the time to like where they're building up the hype and there's time to cash in, like it's always unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Like not even with the successful seat, like the fact that they've only ever lost in the divisional round, but it's also like you mentioned, like when they have the first pick in the 2006 draft and they draft Mario Williams, who was the right pick, but also as a 10-year-old when that draft, 9-year-old when that draft happened, I was like, F these guys.
Right.
Mario Williams, who is this guy? And he wasn't so good that you forget about it, like JJ Watt, who was booed at his draft day and turned out to be the best Texan ever. There's a level of the excitement always is followed by underwhelming. It's like you said, 11 and 12, and then the 2013 season.
Yeah.
And then Jadeveon Clowney getting drafted. Oh my God, look at that hit. Look at that hit from that bowl game. And then it's, he's like a good player, but he's not, some all-time legend that's going to be lining up here. And St. Deshaun Watson, exciting. It's all like there's exciting moments. And then, oh my God, this guy is being accused by 26 women of sexual misconduct.
Whoops.
I hate it when that happens.
I also hate it when that happens. That's what it's been. It's never been a Texans town. You could argue it's a football town. I see some people, I posted this on X. Some people are saying you're crazy. No, it's never fully been that. They are the replacement dog.
Yeah,
for the Oilers, which people I don't think loved that much as it was.
Yeah, but I do wonder, like, if you could like go down the like road not traveled of like the Oilers never left. Like, how does the city feel about the Oilers now? Like even if they didn't have this, or if you just said they have the same success as the Titans had, like they basically just just continue through that. Like, would it be more of a Oilers town if they had never left than it is a Texans town today, or is it all just like, doesn't really matter? I think it took a little bit of a hit just for the fact that the NFL wasn't in the city for
huge.
What was it, 7 years?
There's an entire group of people that are around my age that are like, about the NFL. That are definitely more college football fans, even if they didn't necessarily go to the schools that they root for. JJ Watt said that it would be awesome if the Texans won a Super Bowl, that the parade would be crazy because Houston is a football town in a football state. I think Texas is a football state. I think you can make an argument that maybe Houston is a football town. It is largely due to a variety of different factors that are not the Houston Texans. If the Texans ever were good enough to win a Super Bowl, this town would 100% finally accept them.
Yeah.
That has not happened. And even with CJ Stroud under center and D'Amico Ryans as the head coach, it does not feel like that is about to happen anytime soon. Thus, Houston is really a whatever team is playing best, the sport that they play town. That's what it is. It always will be that. I am cool with it. I have accepted it. At the very least, when something is good, we all support the product. And when it's not, we don't support it, which I really like.
Yeah, that is like actually kind of like it's not what people think is commendable. Like
for us, it's commendable.
Where we go like bad sports town. Look out, no one's at this Marlins Rockies game. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, no, it's not crazy that no one's at a Rockies Marlins game. Who would be at that game?
Yeah.
But I think that it is. I think the Astros' recent run of success for the past decade, I think it has kind of moved the needle on it. It's raised its baseball, I guess, Q rating. Like it's made it more of a baseball town where even if the Astros kind of slowly fade out of winning the AL West every year and going to the playoffs, I do feel like that there is at least like a generation of people that will be like huge Astros fans forever, basically. Yeah. Where, in 2011, there's way fewer of those people.
I agree with you
because
there.
they made the World Series in 2005, but they didn't have a long, sustained run of like they are a top 4 team in baseball basically every year.
And there was a sustained stretch. We're talking around 10 years of them being an afterthought at best,
Yeah.
Really bottoming out around 2011 to 2014. And look, there's been excitement in town about the Texans before, but there's always been, especially the last time around, going into this past season, there's always been a little bit of but let's wait and see at the end of said excitement. Because 2011 going into 2012, that was when this town was most excited about the Houston Texans. That was my first, I was officially here a year when I saw that, because they had the great start in 2012. They were 5-1. They were 11-1, and they got smoked by the Patriots on Monday Night Football. And the rest of the season, they lost 3 of 4 to end the year. And then 2013, they lose 14 games in a row, and Jadeveon Clowney, Bill O'Brien come in, and
they started 2-0, right?
Right. Look, it's been and then Matt Schaub did the pick sixes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's reasons for it. And to what you were saying too, I mean, I a lot of my friends who are a little older than me, most of my friends are about 40 here in town. They always tell me that the Rockets during their formative years, early teens or around your teens, winning those back-to-back titles in 94 and 95 when they were 10, 11 or whatever they were, those championships make them probably, if you put a pistol to their head, Rockets fans above everything else because of those awesome, powerful, nostalgic moments that they have.
And while that was happening, the Houston Texans did not exist. Like they weren't even an option.
They weren't. They were in the process of leaving. The Cowboys were in the midst of a dynasty. Some people became Cowboys fans. Huge Cowboy fan population in town. Huge Saints fan population in town. A lot of transplants from Katrina, etc. New Orleans is also just 6 hours away or so. So it's the second closest NFL city to Houston, other than Dallas. You have transplants of every single fan base that are here in town. That's just the NFL side of things. And then there's the bazillion different college football teams. It for sure is a town that loves football, but the NFL team in town, it has not rallied an entire city around it. And it never will unless they make it to a Super Bowl.
I was going to say, is the line make it to a Super Bowl?
I think so. I think
to really move people.
The goalpost will be moved again if they win an AFC championship game. Because I think look, the Oilers never did it either. The Oilers never did it. The closest the Oilers came was 1979. I mean, this as far as football towns go and as far as pro football towns go. Imagine the closest you've ever been was in 1979 as a town. And sure, there wasn't a team here in town from 97 through 02, but that's a long effing time.
Yeah.
That is a really long time. I mean, if the Oilers were still here, I would imagine that's close to the longest drought that there is in the NFL. Like, even the Jets have been to an AFC championship game or two over that period of time. 99, was it 2010,
Yeah.
2009? I forget the year.
09 and 10, I think.
Right, like the Jets, for God's sakes, have made it. The Jaguars have made it. The Panthers, like, every team's made it except for this one, and the Browns. The Lions even made it, for God's sakes.
Is the Browns more recent? Like the old school Browns? Not obviously, since like they've come back, they haven't come back.
Because I think the Browns made it against. You're right. I think the Browns made it against John Elway.
Yeah, I was gonna say
one of
wasn't
those
the
John
drive
Elway losses.
was the drive in the AFC title?
I think one of those John Elway losses was, comebacks.
Losses to him. Yeah.
Yeah, John Elway would lose in the Super Bowl, but I think one of the multiple of those John Elway comebacks were in the playoffs against the Browns, and I think one of them was in the conference championship game. So that's where it's at, and we do this conversation generally joking around, but all right, JJ Watt talks about it. Felt I'd give my honest thoughts on it. I forget when it was that Bill O'Brien said that Houston is a football town. But that does seem to be the outsider perspective. And hell, I'd even go and point at the Texans flagship, which I worked for a time as an outsider coming in. Like, that was the idea. Hey, every single other market, when it comes to sports radio, the NFL team dominates the discussion. And while there was a time where that existed, 2011 and 2012, I think the best times of ratings in this city ever were featuring the J&R show, which was Josh Innes and Rich Lord afternoons over at the Texans flagship. They were talking about Texans pretty much the entire time. And that's what I remember was my playbook when I first came in. And we had awesome numbers. But it largely was due to that there was excitement about a new thing that people thought was actually going to turn into something big. I remember coming in here and being like, you guys suck. I'm from New England. My entire identity is being from Boston. You're a bunch of losers. The Pats are going to kick your ass. Then I ended up being right. Sorry for being right.